Thank me. First off, I appreciate the congrats about being right about the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Has brought back my 8-year-old self. It's been a gift from God. It's like literally like brought me back to 8 years old where I used to sit in my room. Trump is toast. I like that one.
Donald Trump completely lost it after Jim Carrey and Jimmy Kimmel ripped into his marriage on live TV, turning it into the ultimate comedy roast. But did their brutal humor go too far? Or was it a dose of truth wrapped in laughter? Tune in, because Trump's fiery response is so harsh, the comedian was forced to flee the country. Late night comedy leaves Trump fuming. Carrey, known for his over-the-top antics, didn't even have to exaggerate this time. Just holding up a mirror to the absurdity of Trump's persona was enough. And Kimmel? He carved through the former president's ego like a hot knife through a stale Big Mac. Every joke landed with brutal accuracy, leaving MAGA fans clutching their pearls, demanding some kind of comedic ceasefire. But let's be honest, Trump spent years lobbing insults like a bored billionaire, throwing dinner rolls at the help. Now, he can't handle a little well-aimed humor? The irony writes itself. Before we dive deeper, Trump's reaction wasn't just rage, it was something far more revealing, and what happened next will make you question just how much truth was hidden behind the jokes. And let's talk about Melania. While she usually stands in the background looking like she's buffering, she wasn't spared from the roast. Kimmel threw in just the right amount of shade to remind everyone that the former First Lady often looked as if she'd rather be anywhere else. Did she even want to be there? Was she rolling her eyes behind those oversized sunglasses? No one knows, but one thing's clear. This wasn't exactly the fairy tale romance his followers like to imagine. More like a transactional agreement with a really bad NDA. The best part? Carrey and Kimmel didn't even need to dig deep. His entire existence is satire waiting to be told. He's a walking parody, the kind of guy who spent years trashing people on Twitter only to fall apart the moment someone dared to throw a joke back at him. And now, he's acting like late-night comedy is some kind of national crisis. Maybe if he'd put half as much energy into, say, handling a pandemic or understanding basic geography, things might have turned out differently. But here we are, and let's not pretend he is too busy with politics to care. This is the same man who spent an embarrassing amount of time obsessing over crowd sizes, whether celebrities liked him, and making up bizarre nicknames like a schoolyard bully who peaked in middle school. He wanted Hollywood's approval so badly, and now that he's been turned into a permanent punchline, he just can't handle it. The man is basically allergic to self-awareness. But this meltdown isn't just about him, it's about the entire MAGA universe losing its mind because their guy got roasted. Suddenly, jokes are too mean. Late-night hosts are going too far. Where was all this sensitivity when he was calling people losers, making fun of disabled reporters, or spreading conspiracy theories for sport? Oh, that's right. It was all just jokes back then. Now that the spotlight's turned around, the outrage is off the charts. And let's not forget Melania in all this. While he rages about fake news, she's somewhere in Mar-a-Lago perfecting the art of looking unbothered. Maybe she's planning another awkwardly vague anti-bullying campaign. Maybe she's just waiting out the contract. Either way, Kimmel was right to point out the giant, obvious question that's been floating around for years. Does she even like him? Because from the outside, this whole situation looks more like a business deal gone terribly wrong than an actual marriage. The late-night takedown also hit on something deeper, how his entire brand has been built on division, on making people choose sides like it's a reality show where only one team wins. Carrey nailed it when he pointed out that America has been taught to hate half the country. That's the real damage he's done. It's not just about policies or politics, it's about an entire generation growing up thinking that lying is fine, that news is fake, and that bullying is just another form of leadership. Carrey and Kimmel didn't just land a few good jokes, they held up a mirror and the reflection wasn't pretty. He spent years pretending he's the toughest guy in the room, but the second he's on the receiving end of a roast, he crumbles faster than one of his shady business ventures. It's almost poetic. The man who lived by the insult is now drowning in them, and there's not a rally big enough to change that. Just when it seemed like things couldn't get any worse, Trump showed once again that his biggest problem isn't the media. The meltdown over a late-night joke. And the best part, this isn't over. He's going to spend days, maybe weeks, rage posting about how unfair late-night comedy is, how Hollywood is full of losers, and how he's still the greatest of all time. He won't be able to help himself. He spent too long crafting an image that only works if people take him seriously. And right now, no one is. Except maybe the guy still wearing a Stop the Steal hat in his basement, waiting for a comeback that's never going to happen. Jim Carrey doesn't just do impressions, he breaks people down to their most ridiculous parts and serves them up for the world to see. And when it comes to Trump, well, there's no shortage of material. With every wild grin, exaggerated squint, and over-the-top impression, Carrey didn't just mimic him, he made him look like a walking cartoon, a man whose entire existence is a collection of late-night comedy sketches waiting to happen. The guy who built his image on being larger than life suddenly looked like nothing more than a sideshow act, and the best part, even his biggest fans had to laugh. Of course, it's not just about the performance, it's about the reaction. Because if there's one thing you can count on with Trump, it's that he cannot take a joke. First, he'll pretend he didn't see it. Then he'll rage about it for days, throwing out incoherent rants like a toddler denied dessert. Maybe he'll even toss in a lawsuit threat, because nothing says "I'm totally not bothered" like trying to sue a comedian for making fun of you. The cycle is as predictable as it is pathetic. The man built a reputation on being a fighter, but when it comes to comedy, he melts faster than an ice cream cone in July. But the real comedy isn't just Trump, it's everything around him. The people who still defend him even when the jokes write themselves, the endless stream of scandals that would have sunk any other politician, but somehow just make him louder. The fact that even out of office, he still manages to insert himself into every news cycle like an unpaid intern desperate for attention. Most former presidents fade into quiet dignity, writing books, starting charities, maybe even painting a few mediocre landscapes. Trump? He's out here selling golden sneakers and shouting about voter fraud like a guy who still can't believe he got fired. Then there's Melania, the first lady who looked like she spent every second wondering how she ended up in this mess. Kimmel wasted no time pointing out the obvious. She has the energy of someone who signed up for a free trial and forgot to cancel before getting charged. The infamous hand dodges, the forced smiles, the hollow enthusiasm, it's all part of the act. Watching her in public is like watching someone trying to exit an awkward conversation without being rude. At this point, even the furniture in Mar-a-Lago looks more comfortable around Trump than she does. And let's talk about the absurdity of his post-presidency. The man had 4 years in the White House, and what does he do afterward? Sell NFTs and ramble about windmills? This is the guy who once had the nuclear codes, and now he's one step away from launching a line of Trump-themed air fryers. The fall from power has never looked so ridiculous, and yet he refuses to let go. Instead of moving on like every other president before him, he's out here clinging to relevance with the desperation of a washed-up reality star begging for one last shot at fame. That's the thing about Trump. He doesn't just lose, he turns every loss into a spectacle. He couldn't just accept the election results, he had to turn it into a conspiracy. He couldn't just ignore a late-night joke, he had to turn it into a week-long meltdown. Even his golf game isn't safe. The man spent an entire speech ranting about a photo that made him look chubby, as if that's the biggest problem in his life right now. At this point, he's less of a political figure and more of a running gag in his own sitcom. Did Jim Carrey and Jimmy Kimmel take their jokes too far, or did they just expose an uncomfortable truth about Trump's marriage? Tell us what you think, and remember to like and subscribe for more.